Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, yeah, I'm sure there's probably plenty more. It's social media, and it is absolutely the worst. It's why people I didn't hang out with in high school are hitting me up today to buy crystals or whatever. Gladys, I don't know you. You just went on a cruise with my mother. Why are you sending me friend requests? And social media has shaken up the wrestling industry as well. People are able to build huge followings, create characters, and heat up feuds. And if you're not careful, it can wreck your whole damn career. I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling, and let's take a look at 7 WWE social media scandals. Now, before we get into this, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and La Magistral, that notification bell. Number 1. The Rock. I don't know if there's any wrestling performer that has ever filled me with more mixed feelings than The Rock. His run from the Nation of Domination through Hollywood Rock featured some of the best, most fun, entertaining, dare I say, electrifying sports entertaining that I have ever witnessed. He'd then go off to Hollywood, and we all rooted for him. I saw friggin' Walking Tall in the theater, paid full price for a ticket too. Then he'd come back every now and then, and the jokes wouldn't quite land the same. You know, trying to call John Cena a Kung Pao bitch or CM Punk a cookie puss. Can't all be winners. And then, when his career shot into the stratosphere, his believability as an actual human being kinda took a detour. It seemed like everything he'd do had the goal of either selling us a product or pushing himself as the nicest human being who had ever lived. And while he'd get more heat from a lot of his other social media posts, we're just going to focus on one today. Possibly the weirdest one. In-N-Out Burger is a fast food chain that mainly operates in California and the Southwest United States. And if you've never been to one, and I'm about to lose a third of my followers here, it's fine. Honestly, it's good. It's just not life-changing, as some people would have you believe. Ooh, Senior Siete, courting that controversy. But on December 24th, 2023, The Rock would post this to his social media. My first In-N-Out Burger experience, rolled up in my pickup and tried to be cool AF with my order, but I didn't know the lingo, didn't know who to pay, where to pay, didn't know shit. But I'm a quick study, loved everyone's positive vibes and their holy shit's The Rock energy, loved the grub, and love how everybody in the drive-thru looked at me like I had 3 heads when I gave them a tip. Thank you, In-N-Out, for being awesome, and I'll see you down the road. So, outside of The Rock feeling the need to mention his tip, what's the big deal? Well, this wasn't The Rock's first trip to In-N-Out Burger. He'd been there to pick up food for his family and enjoyed a meal himself, complete, of course, with Teremana tequila, and this caused quite the outrage. We have to think The Rock just forgot with his busy schedule that he'd been there 2 times before, because this is a pretty dumb thing to lie about, and an even dumber thing to get in trouble for. But at the end of the day, it's things like this that are helping change his reputation from that of the people's champ to a Hollywood phony. Number 2, Becky Lynch. If there was an award for which professional wrestler uses social media the best to heat up an in-ring feud, well, my opinion would change based on the day, but it's gotta come down to Drew McIntyre and Becky Lynch. But push come to shove, I'll go with Big Time Bex. Drew has just been decimating CM Punk for about a year, while Becky Lynch has been wrecking everybody for quite some time. Let's just hit on some of the highlights. When Mickie James called the man out, Becky made reference to Mickey's alleged affair with John Cena when she responded with the ice cold, "Not the first time she's come after the top star to further her career. Ooh, there's a time she blamed the concussion she received at the hands of Nia Jax on Chris Jericho's latest album." Makes sense. And even the smooth bit of Twitter trickery, after she got the message that Ronda Rousey had followed her, Becky simply responded, "She tried." However, in this make-believe sport, sometimes real feelings can get hurt, which was the case when Becky turned her venomous verbiage towards her former best friend, Charlotte Flair. Charlotte and Becky were promoted to the main roster together and were by all accounts the best of friends. T-Generation X represent. For the longest time, Charlotte was the star of the show and the clear leader in the women's division. However, when Becky finally found her niche with the man character and started to surpass Charlotte, it was tough for Flair to handle. When Becky started taking shots at Charlotte's plastic surgery, like in this post where Becky accuses Charlotte of taking time off to have her breast implants fixed, That seemed to be taking it too far. Years later, during an interview with Lewis Howes, Lynch would say, "I wish I didn't put that out there because social media can be a great tool, but it can also be a horrible negative and it can cost real relationships if people aren't in on it. I didn't like that. There is such a level of trust in what we do, and I think I broke that trust for several people, and it just didn't feel good. It didn't sit right with who Rebecca Quinn is." Fortunately, the duo has been able to patch things up since then, and Becky can go back to putting Ronda Rousey in her place. Number 3. Hulk Hogan. Do you have any idea how hard it is to be a reformed Hulkamaniac today? When I was a kid, Hulk Hogan stood for everything that was right in the world. When I was a kid, he'd beat up giants because he was the biggest, strongest, bravest man alive. But when I grew up, I realized that was all part of a formula where lower card talents like Jim Duggan and Junkyard Dog would build up big threats to make the Hulkster look good. When I was a kid, he was a real American. He'd fight for the rights of every man. Growing up made us realize that it wasn't quite every man. And then with the advent of social media, we learned he was just kind of your weird surfing uncle who spent way too much time at the beach and never quite grew up. So this one is less about controversies and more about how the Hulkster was made to look extremely stupid, which these days, isn't particularly difficult. Now, in 2024, the Hulkster was hit by a big, nasty, stinky hacker who, the Immortal One, was fortunately able to body slam and leg drop. The hacker died the next day. Unfortunately, this caused Hogan to go back and delete all of his tweets, which is a crime because they are pure gold. For starters, he signs his tweets as if he was Brooklyn Nine-Nine's Lieutenant Holt signing a text message. Then there's this tweet where he says he's sending out prayers to the victims of the Las Vegas shooting, which is a very nice sentiment. What's odd is 12 hours later, he simply tweets out, "Done." Done praying? Did he just pray for 12 hours? Then there's this gem where he thought that Bam Margera was dead and sent out a farewell message only for Bam to be like, "Still here, buddy. Miss ya." Apparently the Hulkster had confused Bam with Ryan Dunn, who had recently passed away. Let's not forget Hogan's magnum opus. No, I'm not talking about Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Band. I'm talking about this honey of a tweet. "Good night, Hulkamaniacs and jabroni marks without a life. They don't know to work. When you work a work and work yourself into a shoot, marks." Did you guys get all that? And finally, there's Hogan's fascinating poop series of tweets. There's this one where he's desperate for some toilet paper, the one where he found poop randomly in his gym with zero context, and when he was asked for clarification, responded with the best tweet of all time. Look, I'd never get a tattoo of a tweet, but if I did, it'd simply say, "Poop, brother, HH." Man, I spent so much money on yellow and bread garbage. And you would think with how much technology has cost Hulk Hogan over his career that he'd just delete every single app. Number 4. Ryback. You can say a lot of things about Ryback. He has an overinflated estimation of his worth. He wasn't able to sustain his momentum after losing his winning streak. He once took an erectile dysfunction pill to impress Brock Lesnar. Okay, I don't know if that last one is true, but Daniel Bryan Danielson said it was true on Table for 3. But at any rate, Ryback ain't shy. Since leaving the WWE in 2016, the big guy has treated us to such tasty social media outbursts like when he said that Triple H cheated on his wife Stephanie McMahon with former WWE diva Caitlyn, when he called Vince McMahon's mother a whore, and he said he could manhandle Brock Lesnar. Former UFC champion Brock Lesnar, that Brock Lesnar. Wait, I'm sorry, is this another Cialis thing? But all of those shenanigans aren't why Ryback is on this list. No. Ryback learned a hard lesson one day when he posted a survey on his social media. And the lesson goes like this: the internet always wins. In this instance, the big guy wanted to know where the wrestling world thought he should ply his trade next. Either All Elite Wrestling, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, NXT, or he could simply retire. The fact that NXT was on this list is somewhat odd. Doesn't he know who runs that place? Anyhow, with the internet being the internet, retire won by a pretty hefty margin. An enraged Ryback would insist on a redo, saying, "It can greatly impact my future, so don't vote retire." Then why is retire an option, dingus? Sure enough, internet did the funniest thing and fed Ryback even more grief by voting for retire by a landslide. Sorry, Ryback, gotta retire. All Twitter polls are legally binding. Number 5, Logan Paul. I'm sorry, that one's way too easy. Number 5, Oba Femi. A lot of the people on this list are old people who didn't grow up with social media. It's not like Hulk Hogan was using his Atari 2600 in the 80s to send Rubik's Cube memes to Greg Valentine. So maybe they can be forgiven in the same way I forgive my mother every time she texts me the wit and wisdom of the Minions. Oh, they're so wise. And they love wine, apparently. Sorry, we're getting way off track. The point I was getting at is that the younger generation is probably much more social media savvy. They grew up with it. It's not weird. They made their mistakes in high school. And a big monster like Oba Femi? What would he need with social media anyway? Just hang out somewhere and be awesome. We don't need to see you posting what you had for dinner. My feelings won't be hurt if you don't Snapchat my Tinder. I'm sorry, I don't use either of those things. But of course, dudes on this list, I didn't do all this build-up for nothing. The trouble started when the reigning NXT North American Champion shared a video on his Instagram story from Spirit Embassy Church in Cape Town, Africa, showing Prophet Hubert Angel. In the video, Angel would make the argument that if your child doesn't want to go to church, you should beat him. Angel would say, I have a problem with parents that say, I'm still praying for my kids to come to church. Beat them up. Just kick the Lord right into them, right? Although that does seem like another way to paraphrase Proverbs 13:24. Another popular way is spare the rod, spoil the child. At any rate, this did not go over particularly well with today's generation of parents, for whom physically disciplining their kids is a thing of the past. Number 6, Tiffany Stratton. Okay, now here's a youngster that I'm not shocked is on social media. I mean, if social media could make a wrestler and then birth it into a wrestling ring, it would be Tiffany Stratton. And judging by her Instagram feed and number of Instagram followers, it seems like she's got everything figured out. Well, maybe not everything. Earlier this spring, the purveyor of Tiffy Time posted what seemed like a relatively innocent video on Instagram. In it, Tiffany would level WWE newcomer Jade Cargill with an elbow to the face. Not that big of a deal, people get elbowed all the time on SmackDown. However, the video had been altered to include some racially insensitive dialogue. When asked about it by Adrian Hernandez during the Money in the Bank Media Day, Stratton would say, it was an honest mistake, I didn't hear the audio, I had it up for maybe 20 seconds and I deleted it instantly as soon as I heard the audio, it was an honest mistake. But the internet is forever, dearest Tiffany, and it raised questions about Stratton's maturity, as well as the concern that she might be a racist. Fortunately for her, this ended up being a much bigger deal online than it did within the company, as most people agreed that the buff Barbie had probably just been a little too trigger-happy with her Instagram posting finger. Number 7, Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan always seemed like a Vince McMahon creation, big, bulky, not particularly skilled in the ring, like he just stepped out of that Bugs Bunny cartoon. This was the kind of guy that was going to get a lot of opportunities to make it big. And when he arrived on the main roster, he went for some top dogs, taking out Kurt Angle the night after his retirement, Rey Mysterio, the Hardy Boys, typical big monster kind of stuff. It was around this time that word got out that over a 6-year period, from 2007 to 2013, that it is believed that the WWE's new Force of Terror had been quite busy on the bodybuilding.com message board, posting a slew of racist, sexist, and homophobic content. We're not going to repeat it here, just know that it was not subtle. And as if that wasn't bad enough, some of the things he posted were about people that are now his colleagues, including Stephanie McMahon, Kofi Kingston, and R-Truth. This fact was not lost on his co-workers, with Big E saying, many are aware, if true, he has to bear the albatross of being a bigot and working in a company that is now filled with minorities. Sullivan and the WWE would release this response saying, there is no excuse for the inappropriate remarks that I made years ago. They do not reflect my personal beliefs nor who I am today, and I apologize to anyone I offended. As a way to hopefully put this matter to bed, the WWE released this statement: Dylan Miley, aka Lars Sullivan, will be fined $100,000 and required to complete sensitivity training for offensive commentary uncovered from his past. WWE will also facilitate meetings for Dylan with community organizations to foster further discussion around the power of social media and the impact of your words. Yikes, $100,000 is no small amount for someone just coming out of developmental. Sullivan wouldn't last with the company for much longer. A knee injury would take him out for some time. When they tried to reiterate him onto the show, it was clear that it just wasn't going to happen. So, the lesson in all of this is, let's be nicer in the comments section. Speaking of which, well, there's our list. Did we forget any other WWE social media scandals? If so, please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and crossroads that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.